What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Tennessee Volunteers are up next. Tennessee coming off a bit of a step back from where they were the year before in 2023. They were 9-4 last year overall. A lot of Tennessee fans think it was a disappointing year for the Vols, but I don't think it was a disappointment. I think Tennessee ended up making it to a bowl game at least. That was the really good news. My thoughts on this team for 2024, I think they have a chance to be pretty good. When you look at the schedule, it's pretty favorable for them to make a playoff appearance and also maybe a potential to be an SEC championship contender. And you look at the offensive side of the football, Nico Amaliava, of course, taking over at quarterback. The future really looks bright for him there at the quarterback spot, but the offense is going to be very explosive like it always has been in the last 3 years, so I have no concerns about the offense for Tennessee. And then defensively, it's always about the defense for Tennessee, if they're going to be really good or not, but they added some pieces in the transfer portal. Maybe the defense could be a really solid defense. They're not going to be the most talented defense in the country, but either way, they should be pretty solid. So let's get to the schedule now here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Tennessee. Again, they were 9-4 last year overall in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Tennessee Volunteers for 2024. First game of the season is at home against Chattanooga here on August 31st. A pretty easy game here for Tennessee to start out the year. I think Tennessee takes care of business fairly easily. They win this one by maybe over 40 points, maybe 50 points as well. I think Tennessee does take care of business, and they start off 1-0 pretty easily with a win over Chattanooga. And then there's that big game in week number 2 against NC State. Of course, this game will be in Charlotte here on September the 7th. First time that these two teams will meet in a neutral site game in like 12 years. The last time these two teams went at it was in 2012. Tennessee, of course, won that game. NC State probably going to be a dark horse contender in the ACC and also a potential preseason top 25 team. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I kind of been back and forth on this game for quite a while. You know, the difference is between both of these teams, Tennessee has definitely a more better offense. NC State might have a better defense than Tennessee does, but you know, talent, advantage definitely goes to Tennessee here in this game. I think Tennessee definitely has a more talented roster than NC State does. So with that being said, I've been back and forth on this game, but I like Tennessee's roster just a little bit more. I'm going to go with the Vols here in a close, low-scoring type game, perhaps. I mean, it could go really either way. It could go like into a shootout. It maybe can also be like a low-scoring defensive game, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring type game. I think Tennessee, though, does pull it out, and I think they start off 2-0, and then they take care of business against Kent State here on September 14th. So that puts their record now at 3-0. Next game is on the road here at Oklahoma on September 21st. First official SEC game here, against a newcomer in Oklahoma. This game will, of course, be on the road. It's a very tough place to play. I am concerned about Oklahoma's offense. They did lose a lot of talent on that side of the football, but they do have a defense that really can make some stops. I think this game's probably going to be like similar to the NC State game. It probably could be a low-scoring type game. I think both offenses, I think Tennessee might have an advantage there, but, defensively, Oklahoma has a big advantage there. But I've been back and forth on this game, just like the NC State game. I kind of been back and forth here between Tennessee and Oklahoma. So that being said, home field advantage might favor the difference. I'm going to go with Oklahoma here to pull off the upset, and I think they give Tennessee their first loss of the season. Maybe it's not an upset, but, I think Oklahoma does pull it off here, and they give Tennessee their first loss of the season. So that puts their record here at 3-1. And then Tennessee gets a bye week here before playing Arkansas here on the road on October the 5th. I'm not really that high on the Razorbacks this year. They're going to be a very young team. I've been talking about this Arkansas team, at least in my SEC videos and my predictions, and then also talked about it in my Oklahoma State video from yesterday. I don't think Arkansas is going to be that horrible. I think they'll be very competitive against Tennessee here in this game. Maybe for the first half, though. I think second half Tennessee finds a way to pull away in the second half. It's going to come down to their defense in this game as well. I think Tennessee, though, does pull away in this one. I think the bye week does help them out, and I think Tennessee gets a bounce-back win over Arkansas here on the road. I know that game is on the road. Anything can happen here for Tennessee, but I'm going to go with the Vols here just because they're the more talented team. So I got Tennessee improving now to 4-1 here on the season. And then they get back at home to play Florida here on October the 12th. Of course, this has always been a very interesting matchup here between Tennessee and Florida. This is a revenge game here for Tennessee. They lost to Florida last year in the Swamp. They defeated Florida a couple years ago. It seems like this rivalry is going back and forth. You know, it seems like Florida wins at the Swamp in 2021, and then it's Tennessee the next year, and then, of course, last year was Florida. I think the same thing's going to happen again. I think in a low-scoring type game, I think Florida's going to have a pretty good defense to stop this Tennessee offense from scoring, but, you know, Tennessee is playing at home. This is a 50-50 game. I'm going to go with the Vols here just because of the home field advantage, and I think Tennessee does get revenge here on Florida from last year's game, and I think that puts their record now at 5-1. And then after that, it's another rivalry game against Alabama here on October the 19th, of course, the third Saturday in the month of October. And, you know, kind of like the Florida game and definitely the Florida rivalry, it's been really close for the last, 3 years now between Tennessee and Alabama. 2021, Alabama, of course, blew out Tennessee, but, you know, 2022, Tennessee finally snapped that 15-game losing streak in Knoxville. And then last year, Tennessee had a really good shot to beat Alabama for the second year in a row, but it didn't happen. They did make mistakes last year, and that ended up being an Alabama win. This time, Tennessee will play Alabama at home, and I've already done my Alabama video a couple weeks ago, and I did choose, Tennessee actually to win this game against Alabama in a shootout, and that's what I'm going to go with. I think Tennessee does beat Alabama here in Knoxville for the second, time, in the last couple years. It's not for the second straight year and everything, but I think they do defeat Alabama here for the second time here in Knoxville, and I think Tennessee does get revenge here on Alabama, and that puts their record here at 6-1. And then they get another bye week right after that Alabama game before playing another rivalry game in Kentucky here on November 2nd. So they have 3 straight home games against their big rivalries, or actually I should say rivals. Kentucky might be a sneaky good team in the SEC. They also brought in some transfers to help them out. I think the offense might be a little bit better for Kentucky, but, Tennessee does get a bye week here before playing Kentucky. It's going to be probably a close game here between these two teams. I think Tennessee, though, playing at home in a really close game, probably a 50-50 type game as well. I think Tennessee, just because they're playing at home, they do get the win here over Kentucky. Tennessee has dominated the series as of late, it seems like. They've been on a winning streak ever since Josh Heupel got here. So Tennessee, I think, will win once again here against Kentucky here in the rivalry, and that puts their record now at 7-1. Next game is at home against Mississippi State on November 9th. I think Tennessee might take care of business in this game. This might be the game where I think Tennessee might win big in an SEC matchup. I think they do take care of business. I don't really expect Mississippi State to be all that good this year. So with that being said, I think the Vols win big here in this one against Mississippi State. Not a blowout, but I think they win it fairly easily over Mississippi State, and that puts their record now at 8-1. And then next game is on the road here at Georgia on November 16th. I've already done my Georgia video a couple weeks ago, and I did choose the Bulldogs to win this game. Georgia has just way too much talented, players on the roster compared to Tennessee. Tennessee does have a talented roster, but just not really on the talent level of Georgia's talent and everything. So with that being said, this game probably is close for the first half. I did say that Tennessee might compete here in the first half, but, second half, I think the Bulldogs probably pull away, and I'm going to go with Georgia here to knock off Tennessee, and I think they give Tennessee their second loss here of the season. But Tennessee does take care of business against UTEP here the next week, so that puts their record here at 9-2. And then the final game of the season is on the road here at Vanderbilt on November the 30th. Going to be a very interesting game here again between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. But, Tennessee has dominated the series as of late. Even though it's on the road, I don't really expect a really big fight here for this Vanderbilt team. They're not going to be even really good either way. And, Vanderbilt's just not been really close with Tennessee now since, the last, few years now, it seems like. This series was close. It was going back and forth, but now it seems like Tennessee has dominated the series ever since Josh Heupel got here to the, Knoxville and everything. So with that being said, even though it's on the road, I think Tennessee does win fairly easily here. They win their final game of the regular season against Vanderbilt here on the road. So that puts their record now at 10-2, and that's what my prediction is for the Tennessee Volunteers for 2024. Again, that's my prediction, 10-2 here for Tennessee. And again, you just look at this schedule. Like I talked about in the intro, this is a very easy schedule for Tennessee. And I know they got some tough road games, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and then, of course, Georgia. Vanderbilt's not even a tough road game at all, but again, you look at that Georgia game, that's probably their toughest road game here on this schedule. But again, if they go 11-1, I mean, obviously with a one loss coming maybe to one of those road games against Georgia and Oklahoma, they could probably go 11-1. But Tennessee, with this kind of schedule, all their important games are at home. Like, for example, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky. Those are 3 rival games, and they all get those games at home. But, they get Georgia on the road. That's obviously very tough. But, Tennessee, my prediction for them is 10-2. So maybe that's enough for them to make it into the college football playoff. But this is also a team that probably could potentially be in the SEC championship as well. But again, my official prediction here for the Tennessee Volunteers in 2024 is 10-2. Let me guys know what you think about this Tennessee team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.